Welcome back to the Sound of Southern Charm podcast. I'm Stephen George, your host. Today we're discussing nonprofit work. Megan Smoot and her husband co-founded JawWorks, which brings sustainable freshwater containment systems, among other things, to communities in Jamaica. Full disclosure, my wife and I donate to their cause every year. Megan is here to talk more about running a nonprofit and how it's impacted her career. Megan, thanks for being here.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you very much for having me today.
Absolutely. So, Megan, what made you and your husband want to start JawWorks?
There are a lot of things, and I think we'll get into it as we go through our chat today. But really, as far as wanting to get into the nonprofit world, so we actually started what would become JawWorks as a project within our home church in Walkertown, North Carolina. And so we did a lot of mission trips to Jamaica during that time, and got to the point where being a project within a church was as far as we could get. And we really wanted to expand our programming, and we really wanted to set down our roots as a 501c3. So in 2016, that's what we did. And we got incorporated in early 2017. And so here we are today.
Wow. So it was something that you sort of branched off from your church. That's pretty incredible that you sort of had this experience and then you said, no, we want to go further with it. So what other types of service projects have you done prior to starting your own?
So as I mentioned, we were within our church, we were active there too. And so volunteering in Winston-Salem, Walkertown, Kernersville, Greensboro area, working with the homeless population and things like that. I wanted to tell a little story about the first time I got involved with volunteering. And this was way back in high school.
Please do.
So I was in a class called Design Drafting, which was like AutoCAD back in the day. And it was taught by a man named Bill McComb. And Bill McComb was one of those teachers who was just like your favorite teacher and was engaging and all of that. And so within this class, he had us work on doing fundraisers throughout the year, which would go towards the Children's Miracle Network. This was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so we, as a class, did fundraisers, had the most fun together to do that, raise these funds. And that was all fine and good. And then at the end of the semester, he organized a field trip to go to the hospital to actually meet these children and that were sick and give them gifts and just like spend time with them to help try to give them a little happiness in the midst of being in the hospital.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me since, I was like 17 years old. And that was the first opportunity I really had to give back and see the impact of what the work I had done meant to the person on the receiving end of it. So shout out to Mr. McComb for getting me started on this give back journey, and to all the teachers who inspire their students to do the same.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of inspiration coming around these days and every day. And I think now it's more important than ever. So tell us kind of what is your role as a co-founder of JawWorks?
So there are three of us. You mentioned my husband, TJ, and we also have another co-founder, Brandon. We all have a passion for this work. And so also being a fairly newly structured 501c3, we've just kind of jumped in wherever we needed to as we're learning like how to do nonprofit, right? Like we know how to do the work involved, but how to like be a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
Particularly for me, I do kind of the accounting side of the house. So everything that has to do with like financial reporting, tax reporting, all the like boring stuff. Like, I don't know how I got stuck with that, but that's what I do. And I actually, probably because I do enjoy it, like numbers and stuff like that. It's kind of my background, but like I do enjoy doing that. I also manage the website and our blog that's on our website.
Okay.
And then all of us kind of pitch in right now to work on fundraising and communications and mainly decisions with our programs and like, the day-to-day operations of the programs. And then also the big strategic questions about like where we go next.
Okay. So I think most people would be interested in knowing how you and your husband get along running a company together. Because if you think about it, a lot of couples are at home right now anyway, but they're in their separate offices and doing their own kind of jobs. But you two actually work on this together. And so I'm curious to know how that's helped you guys or sort of figure each other out, or how you just get along running the company.
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say we still work on that.
Well,
We
sure.
do have we did because of COVID. So in my day job, that is not JawWorks, and I know we'll probably get to that a little later. I am working from home now because of COVID, and so that in itself was enough to get us to like redo our office space, like just thinking about the physical space of working together, so that we both had a place to work and we both have a desk to work. So I think that's really important, at least for us, is to have our own separate spaces. They're in the same room, but
Okay.
to be able to have that place where we sit and work. So that's the first thing that's really helped. I think just kind of at a more relationship level, like we've figured out where each other's strengths are. And, when we need help with something, that's the other person's strength, to really lean on them. And so it's really a partnership. And that's how we viewed our marriage since the beginning. But it's awesome to see it actually come through in business, because I know it can, and can be stressful and is stressful sometimes.
Sure.
But like my strengths, I'm more analytical, I'm more the planner, I have a background in project management. So I kind of like go towards that side. And then he's more in tune with like the people side of things and helps me keep things human. So when I'm like marching towards a deadline, he's like, we might want to just consider how people feel for a minute. I'm like, that's a really great point. Thank you.
Right. No, and I think that that's great that you two can coexist and really do this together, because clearly if you started a nonprofit, you're going to be planning on doing this together for a very long time. So I want to know, why did you, and you talked about working with your church and sort of going to Jamaica. Is that sort of why you decided to stay with Jamaica, or did you ever look anywhere else to do this sort of nonprofit work?
We have thought about other places. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I'll do my best. So, speaking of working with my husband, the reason this became about Jamaica in the first place was we honeymooned in rural Bluefields, Jamaica, which is where we currently work.
Okay.
And we had no plans to go to Jamaica. Long story short, we ended up being gifted airplane tickets for as a wedding gift from a relative,
Wow.
and they were like, "If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?" And I think it was TJ just blurted out, "Jamaica sounds great." I'm like, I guess it does. We were planning to just like go up in the mountains of North Carolina and get a
Sure.
little cabin for a week.
Yeah.
And so this came along and we're like, okay. And so started literally Google searched off the beaten path Jamaica, because we knew if we were going to another country that we wanted to be around people who live there and learn the culture and eat the food, and all of this amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So we ended up staying in these little cabins in Bluefields, Jamaica. And during that week we were there, we met a man named Woldy Christos. He had just started his tourism business. So this was back in 2003. It's been a little while. But he came by where we were staying and offered to take us up to a place called Mayfield Falls, which is the most beautiful waterfalls that I've seen. But during that trip, it was about a 45-minute car ride. He was telling us about all the work, all the community development work that Bluefields was already doing and had been doing since 1988. So they had an organization formed right there in the hub of the community. It's called the Bluefields People's Community Association, or the BPCA.
Okay.
And he was just so passionate about the work that they were doing to feed everyone, make sure everyone has food, jobs, and education, and that the environment is taken care of. And it's so important as a rural fishing and farming community to have those things in place. And he talked a lot about sustainability, not only from like the environmental side, but from the community side. And we were just amazed at that. Then coupled with the love and the generosity and the hospitality that we experienced in just that one short week of being in that place, from all the people that we encountered. Across the street, we went to a cook shop almost every day for lunch.
Nice.
They treated us like family. We had people who invited us to their homes for dinner, and I'm like, we are strangers here in a strange land, right?
Right.
But like they all welcomed us like family. So fast forward a little bit, but we stayed in touch with Wolde over the years, and now he's one of our partners, and he's a very important piece of JAWWorks, and we could not do this without him. So he is our representative, one of our representatives of the Bluefields community that helps us figure out ways that we can partner with them on what they're already doing.
Isn't it amazing how things work out that way? Where, like you said, you were going to go on your honeymoon and thinking mountains of North Carolina, and no, we're just going to drop off somewhere right in the middle of Jamaica in the Caribbean and see what happens.
Yeah, you can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes. Like it's a random, right? random thing that happened. But
yeah, because, my wife and I, we've been to Jamaica multiple times, and we've been to, I think they categorize it into 3 separate sections. You've got Montego Bay and Negril and Ocho Rios, sort of the size of the island, and we've driven through Kingston. But, prior to learning about your organization, she and I had not known anything about the Bluefields community. So it was just really kind of neat to see your story and how made it your mission to sort of go into these other communities and really help them out. I have to assume that JAWWorks is a sort of Jamaican reference to something. Would you like to tell people at home, what does JAWWorks mean exactly and where the name came from?
Ja is not a word that Americans know unless you're kind of in like that reggae culture or you're Jamaican or, related to Jamaicans or whatnot. So Ja is actually short for Jehovah, or in other words, God. And so it's kind of like that part of our name is kind of a throwback to our days starting within a church as a project, and also speaks to the Jamaican culture at the same time. And so we really wanted to incorporate that. The works part of it, and if you translate Ja as God, it's God works. And so we believe that faith without action is dead. And so taking action or doing the work is so important. And it takes a lot of work. As anyone who's in nonprofit or not even a nonprofit, but if you're doing work to improve the lives of others or even yourself, it's work. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And so it does take that time and effort to really dive in and get it done. And so the other cool thing about that name is we had incorporated, or we were getting ready to incorporate. We knew we were going to go this route, and we didn't have a name yet. And we were actually in Jamaica, sitting on Belmont Beach, which is in Bluefields, with Wolde. It was myself, Brandon, TJ, Wolde, and then one of our friends down there named King Love. And we were telling him what we were doing. We're like, we've been down here a number of times. We've done this work, but now we're ready to make this a business. Like, what are some names we could call it? And like almost immediately, King is like, you know what you should call it? And I'm not even going to try to attempt to do a Jamaican accent, but totally he's like, you know what you should call it? You should call it JAWWorks because you're doing the work of God. And I was like, oh, okay, I think that's it. This was on our short list of names, was JAWWorks. And he said it without us even prompting. So I'm like, I think that's probably it. And so as soon as we got home, we filed the paperwork to incorporate under JAWWorks. So that's what it is.
That's a great story. What have you done in your career that you think has helped you prepare to run a nonprofit?
So I have a background in finance and banking. I worked at a credit union for many years, and one of my first career jobs. And then I was there doing many different types of jobs within it. So I gained a lot of experience there. So just basic finance, banking, project management. I am a certified project manager by trade. Okay. And so just being able to organize work and get it done. More recently, I've been doing at my day job, my new day job at a different financial institution. I do business model development. So really trying to create new business opportunities, create value for customers. All of that helps translate into both our administrative needs. Like I mentioned, like I do the books, right? Sure. So like I wouldn't have known how to do that without having my background. And then also with our program development and the design of that. And so not only the programs and services that we offer on the ground, but then also our impact travel program where we bring volunteers from the US to Jamaica to help execute on some of the programs, but like being able to develop that so that it creates a value for them as well as for the people who we're delivering services to. And so I pull on all of that type of experience. It's funny because it goes both ways, because I do learn while I'm doing this for JawWorks, I learn even more also to do that when I bring it back to my daily work.
Absolutely. And it's awesome to see that, yeah, they both can kind of feed off each other and sort of refresh you and help you find new ways to be successful in whatever terms that looks like for you in each job. Because like you said, you do have a day job on top of running a nonprofit. So do you have any long-term plan or a set of goals that you want to reach with JawWorks?
We do. Yeah, we actually, towards the end of last year, and I'm going to tell a little story about this too, but towards the end of last year, because we were not traveling, we participated in a small business growth accelerator program that was offered through the Greensboro Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
That's a mouthful, but that's what we did. And it helped us take a look at that exact thing of where we're growing and where we want to be. And so we currently align with 4 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals,
Okay.
where we align our programs around that. So we have 4 programs: clean water, healthy food, relevant education, and then equitable jobs. So with clean water, which has been kind of our flagship program for a number of years, we're hoping to expand that. And we want to expand that. We talked a little bit about going outside of Bluefields, Jamaica, but we want to make sure that everyone within the community has access to clean water, and then kind of in concentric circles go out from there.
Okay.
With the others, we're wanting to start pilots in them. We've been focused a lot on the clean water, and we've kind of dabbled in some of the other areas, but we think those are important too. And so as we continue to grow, we do want to work with the Bluefields community to understand the need for healthy food, figure out how to deliver that, et cetera. So in partnership with them to kind of build those parts of our programs up. And then also with our impact travel program, it's kind of like that program to the side because it does deliver a service as well. But we want to expand that and be bringing just more people with us to, when it's safe to do so again, but to experience the culture. And always go back to like TJ and I's first trip there on our honeymoon and what we experienced. And we hope that people can take that away with them and feel like their Bluefields always has a little special place in their heart. And so we're hoping to expand that as well and bring more groups of travelers with us.
Yeah, now when you say that you're working on better food and that sort of thing for the community, what do they have access to now for the most part on a daily basis, if anything? And what are you trying to hopefully bring to them as options? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the really cool thing about rural Jamaica, maybe, all over Jamaica even, is that fruit grows on the trees, and fruit trees are everywhere.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, like, people will just hand us fruit like all day long, when we go and visit. And so that is available. And so we're really leaning on the community to help us understand what that means for them from like a culturally aware perspective. So
Sure.
We've started partnering and working with the Bluefields Organic Farm. There's also an organization in Bluefields. It's an organic farmers cooperative. I'm going to mess up the name, but there's like a group of people focused on this too.
Sure.
And so I think for us, it's going to mean helping to plug into the organic farming side of things, which could also couple with water and water access around some agriculture, creating jobs within organic farming. We've helped with some beekeeping supplies in the past, where people are starting up kind of their own bee colonies to create honey to be able to resell it. And so when we talk about like equitable jobs, that's one of those things that we try to bring into any of these programs, is actually creating jobs, which creates income, which creates independence within any of the programs that we're doing. But I think that's the way it's going to go. I don't know exactly what the program will look like yet, but something around like just more a healthier food and organic, non-pesticide food availability, and creating jobs to go along with that.
Well, and I think you summed it up so nicely when basically you can see the trickle down effect of creating work, and then which creates the resources for people, which leads to a better quality of life. So I think you are already seeing that, and so now it's just figuring out a way to bring that vision sort of to everyone there, and they've seen it within the community too, because like you said, you've been going there for more than a decade at this point. So it's really neat to kind of, I'm sure from your side, see how things have changed and how they're excited to have you back each and every time that you're able to be there. But speaking of that, being able to be there, let's talk about the impact of COVID a little bit, and because I'm sure that's probably hurt you in previous years. And so or compared to previous years, where is your fundraising in 2020?
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
I'll say that, just like everyone else, or most everyone else. So we in 2019 had started doing a lot of live kind of community events. We had done some like neighborhood music festivals in collaboration with a local brewery. We had done a lot of things to start to get the community together, which is also very big to us. So we try to figure out how to get people together
Sure.
in community with each other while they're fundraising for, clean water. And it seems to work pretty well, except when you have a pandemic on your hands.
Well, sure.
And so, we couldn't do live events anymore. And so it was really cool that we still had a lot of activity with people who just wanted to help. I tell you what, without our monthly donors, I don't know where we would have been, because they really helped with that foundation of funding that was so important to us. And I'm so just like grateful to everyone who does that, because they sustained us throughout what was the worst year yet for so many people, including us, right? But like we were definitely down. It kind of took us back revenue wise to where we started in 2017. So we didn't have too far to fall, but we feel like we're starting over a little bit as well. But it kind of did rock us back on our heels and made us think about ways we could do things differently to keep the community engaged and to continue fundraising. So we're starting to do a little bit more of that this year. And I think that'll continue even after the pandemic, and we're all, free to roam and go where we need to go.
Yes, please.
I think we'll continue with that. I know, right? I think we'll continue with some of that virtual gathering. And like I had a Zoom call with, so we're not fundraising, but I had a Zoom call with a couple different organizations, one in Jamaica, one here in the US, and our partners in Jamaica, to come together and talk about some possibilities. We were all on video. We got to see each other. We couldn't have done that, or, we wouldn't have thought to do that a year ago. There's a lot of things that have come out of it that will help us in the future. But yeah, it's been kind of tough to kind of pivot and see what else we can do differently.
Well, sure. So update us all on right now within that subject sort of. Is there any work being done right now on the ground? Since people
There
can't,
is.
yes, because people can't travel. So what's going on in these communities?
Right. So what a lot of people see like on our social media and in what we share are when our volunteers, those impact travelers, travel with us to do this work. And so one of the things we always wanted to figure out, because that was usually like a 1 or maybe 2 time a year occurrence, what we really have been wanting to figure out is how do we continue the work while we're not there? And if I go back to like thinking about, or when I was talking about the programming and creating jobs, like we would love to be done with this work, right? Like we would love to create these programs that are circular, I guess maybe circular economy based, and people have independence, and hand it over to Bluefields and say, you guys run with this. This is your baby and it's working. So almost like a seed funding that we would
Sure.
give to this program
Yeah.
to get it started and running. So anyway, so we've wanted to figure out how to make this work when we couldn't be there, because it's just not feasible for us to be there all the time. And so we were able to work through a lot of that, what we would have done on the ground with our partners, and get into all the fine details about, how do we estimate a job? How do we estimate what this rainwater catchment system material needs are going to be for this particular house? We had to work through that. We had to work through, like, okay, well, who goes and gets the materials, and how do we reimburse you for the materials, and who do you have to come work with you on this job, and how do
Yeah.
we manage inventory? So there was like all of these huge questions that honestly we hadn't needed to think about until now. And so it really forced us into like figuring out that program. And so we've had our 45th rainwater catchment system installation happen this past year for a single woman in Bluefields without us being on the ground at all. It was our partners in Bluefields who took that and ran with it.
Okay.
They've also done a number of maintenance projects on existing rainwater catchment systems. So that's something that's also very important to us, because we want to make sure that if these systems are installed, they continue to work. And so it's a pretty basic design, and I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of everything we do with it, but there are a few little maintenance things that have to happen. And then sometimes, like, a pipe will break off of it because someone kicked it as they walked by, right? So like we had to figure out that side, and are still working on this, but that same team was able to go around and kind of do a inventory of needs for what needed to be fixed, and then they got the materials and went out and fixed it. And so we were able to, like, now I think all of our catchment systems are up and running. We have a new one that's been installed. They got paid for their work at a time when tourism, which the community is so dependent on,
Right.
has completely dropped off. Right. So we were able to create those jobs at a time that they were needed the most, and continue to provide water for people.
Wow. Yeah, so that's great to hear that they can still, keep the work going and pay for people to do that work, because as you said, the tourism industry is very strapped at the moment and not even able to really occur. So are you even able to ship anything internationally from like a donation standpoint to the Bluefields community?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of experience in that, and I'll talk about it in two different ways. So the first is that we do have plans coming up this year to install 10 more new rainwater catchment systems.
That's awesome.
To do that, we do source our filters. We have two types of filters that we use. We source those from the U.S. Company called Rain Harvest Systems out of Georgia. If you guys are putting in your own rain harvest systems here in the U.S., you can certainly contact them. They are an amazing partner and have really helped us to perfect our installations in Jamaica. They're helping to get that shipment together. This is actually something we're working on right now, to get that sent down to Jamaica to end up in Bluefields. So we are able to ship materials. As far as donations go, a lot of times when we were traveling, we would ask for school supplies or baby or infant kind of clothing or maternity supplies. There's a women's clinic in town that we will donate those type of things to, so they go to the people who have the most need. Same thing with like medical supplies, things like that. But because we're not traveling, usually we stuff everything in our suitcases with our travelers,
Right.
and bring it all down under the 50-pound limit of your suitcase. And that's how we would kind of do it. But if there's someone out there who's listening who wants to maybe make a large donation of any of those items, we can arrange that, and they can, just reach out to us through our website, and we can figure out how to do that. But I would say, like, for, a few donations here and there, just kind of be on the lookout when we're able to travel again, and we'll put a call out once we have some more concrete travel plans in place.
Okay. So if people are looking for other ways between now and the time you can take those sort of items with you in a suitcase, if they're looking for other ways to kind of donate money that may be a little more unique, what opportunities do you have specifically for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few. And so one of those, out on our website, is a shop. Well, I think it's called Store, but it's like our shop for good. And so we partner with craftspeople within Bluefields, Jamaica. Again, the whole suitcase shipping method, but we partner with them to purchase their creation. So art, craft, paintings. In the past, we've had some consumables too, like some honey and some coffee that we bring home and resell. And so it benefits that artist or craftsman or farmer. You also get a piece of Jamaica to enjoy. And then the dollars that we raise from that sale goes back into our clean water program. So there's a link for that out on our website. I mean, people can also, just join our mailing list and stay in touch. Also on our website, there's a place to sign up for that. We're all over social media. Our Instagram is pretty nice. TJ does that, and he's a professional photographer, and so he's got that on lock. But if you want to kind of just follow that or, share that with people, I mean, the more people that see the work that's going on, the more support that we'll have. One of the things that we're trying to do more of this year are some virtual events so that we can still be engaging our community in a way that we can right now safely, but also give back. And so we just had this really fun event where it's called Craft and Give Back, where you got your own DIY kit to make a really cool piece of decor for your home. And then by purchasing that kit, you were able to also, it was a donation to our clean water program. And with that, we also had partnered with a local small business, so it was also supporting them. And so I think that's really important during, this time and any time, is to support our local small business owners.
That's super fun. So real quickly, will you give everybody at home, your website address to check all this out, and then, like you were mentioning, your Instagram handle, and that way they can kind of follow along or even join in with the upcoming events?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So our website is jahworksexperience.org. It's JAHWORKS experience.org. And then our Instagram is at jahworksexperience. There should be links from our website to get to it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Megan, thank you so much for your time. I hope everybody gets an opportunity to check out your website, check out the different ways that they can help this community in Jamaica grow, and because your story it's really special, and I think that comes across for everyone who's listening, and hopefully they'll want to take part in some way.
Well, we welcome anyone who does. Steve and I really thank you for the time to share our story today, and it's been really great to catch up with you.
Be sure to subscribe to the Sound of Southern Charm podcast to hear the other guests I have coming up. If you'd like more information, you can email me at stephen@stephengeorgevo.com. Thanks for listening.